Hello everyone. Today I am here to show you my self-expanding factory, and I will during the video explain to you the basic concept to how the factory works and kind of show you a flowchart of the factory or of the script. Without further ado, let's get going. So let's get to it. Also, handy little trick I just learned. Excuse me. If you want to change the color of your character, and no one ever told me about this, just press the tilde to /color and pick any color. In this case, we'll pick pink. It will change the color of your character, and it will also change the color of your turrets. I think this is a really neat feature, and that should have been implemented a bit, well, maybe not implemented, but explained to the players a bit earlier, because unless you go diving for this code, no one ever tells you this. So I'm going to change my color back to green. And now let's get started with the factory, shall we? So the factory's got 33 blueprints, as one could tell. I managed to condense this down pretty well. It was originally 450 blueprints. So I think I did a good job. In any case, let's get started. The beginning of the end. Now, for the large part of the duration of this test video, or demonstration I should say, I will not be present, as this factory tends to take about maybe an hour to do a full cycle, or maybe 20 minutes, I'm not quite sure. Either way, I'll be sticking around for the first part, and then once a certain phase is hit, I'll walk away and let you just view it for yourself. With that being said, let's get going. Make sure I throw in the right blueprint book. So, while we wait, each of these statements here will be formed on these concrete platforms, and we have command statements, we have if statements, and we have till statements. I have made a little handy note book for all my gates that this whole factory relies on. So now we're testing to see if there's any ores, which the answer should be yes. And the next gate will be a till gate. So we're waiting till, or not, no, it's not a till gate. It's a if statement, because now we're testing to see, are there any ores? And if we look in the system can now recognize there is 408k copper and 330 excuse me for stuttering so much, 37k iron in this sector. So we wait for the statement to reach a certain number, which apparently it has reached, and now it knows there's resources. It's going to add some passive provider chests through the whole region. Now sadly I don't know where a mine would be placed in every sector, so I just kind of made big giant templates, which ends up actually saving a lot of time and effort. I'm not too worried about wasting passive provider chests, because once all the mines have been fully depleted, everything here just gets picked up and then moved off to another sector. So nothing's going to waste, just getting used up somewhere else for a short period. Why? Oh, we missed the if statement, so it's now going to the till statement. So the next if statement, or the last if statement, was checking for uranium, which obviously there is none. So we went straight to the wait statement. And now we're just waiting till our raw ores reach 0. Now, we could sit around all day and wait for this to finish up, but this is where I come in. Actually, before I do that, let me just point out a few things. This is basically the same layout for each statement, just a little bit different. In each statement, we have to check all the variables to make sure the gates are fully functional before we let them fire off. So here, we had to check to see if all of our ore checkers were in place, and if so, we'd get a light here, and this one would light up as well. But if they're all in place, this one just goes on regardless. This one only goes on when when cyan signal reaches 4 output. So 5 out. Right. My bad. I am so unprofessional about this. When cyan reaches 6. My bad. You've been working on a project for maybe 300 hours. You start going a little mind-numbing. Then, once we know these are in place, we also have to check to make sure all of our constant combinators are in place, which if so, they will activate another light. Then we also have to check to make sure there are no residual signals from the previous command, which will check off another light. Now, when all the lights are on, then the timer will start, and when the timer hits a certain time, that will fire off the statement. I'm guessing I lost 90% of you with that, so let me just get us moving, shall we? So, now the system doesn't spot any ore in the system, so the cyan light is going on, all of the lights are now on, and the timer is ticking. When the timer hits 900 T, T for ticks, we will move on or run the statement. Now, when you guys get your hands on the factory, sadly for you guys, you will not have all the stone and concrete patchwork. This is just to help me visualize my delete command. Everything in the stone and stone, brick, and concrete area is not in the delete path. Everything that isn't is. So, we wait for the command. Which should fire off in 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's just fun to watch. So, another side note that you might want is when these factories are running, to get them started, they're a bit of a pain to get started up because they do cannibalize any factory around them. Meaning, you're going to have to build up a big factory that's going to act like a host for this factory, and then this factory is going to munch it, and then eventually get on its own 2 legs and be self-sufficient. Ideally. There are a little bit of some nooks and crannies. I did try making this as symmetrical as possible to help save a pain for myself. I failed at symmetry, being symmetrical somehow, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue. A few more statements to talk about. So one thing we did have to, or something I did have to worry about is if you look in the logic system, we now can see everything in the logistics system. But if I were to run a red signal through it, we could turn the signal off. Or the logistics six. I am just stuttering all day. Turn off the logistics signals that we are receiving from the logistics system. Now we have 4 of these going on, but they're all rigged in such a way that we can only see the input of 1 of them at any given point. The reason why we have 4 of them is in case if one of them went down. So other than that, I don't really think I have much more to say, so I'll just back up and let you guys enjoy the show. So what's going on right now at the moment, right before I head out, is it tried to build oil pumps. Since there are no oil pumps in the field, it didn't build any. But we don't know if there's oil pumps out there or not, so we have to build a pipe field to ideally get some of that oil back into a container that we can monitor. And if so, then we can tell if there's oil there or not. We do the same concept with water, but we also have to pick up the whole pipe field and try and place on water pumps, then place in our pipe field and do a whole process over. Now, I know someone out there is going to think, no, that's stupid. Why don't you just try placing both water and oil pumps down? My reply, what are you thinking? The two do not mix. Therefore, we cannot merge the two, else we get a horribly screwed up system. Also, water pumps always dominate over oil pumps, from last I checked. What else is there? Oh, yeah. So these next couple phases will take about 5 minutes each, due to the fact, well, maybe more than 5 minutes, because the timer is set to 5 minutes, and the bots take about another, well, as you can tell, they're taking a few more minutes. So 5-10 minutes for these phases to go by, so you might want to speed it up or just jump. And once we get past all the oil stuff and water, or all the liquids, you know, figuring out the liquids was the hardest part. The rest of the script goes by pretty quickly. Oh, that just reminds me. The reason why there's gaps in the pipes is, even though we won't be able to get the input of every oil pump or every water pump, that is alright, so long as we can get enough. And enough is 1. Because we can use coal liquefaction plus a little, just a little heavy, heavy oil or gas, however you want to call it, allows us to make more, or turn coal into more oil or gasoline and stuff. So once we get that whole process going, we don't really need to do this process anymore. We can actually kind of forget about oil altogether. Water, yeah, as long as we get 1 pump, we'll have enough output from that 1 pump to keep 8 barrel packagers supplied. So I don't really see a need to get every water pump. Sadly, with today's video, you won't be seeing the factory / refinery, and you won't be seeing the, no, you actually will be seeing the power plant, but the power plant can't run due to the fact that we don't have water barrels around, so it's going to instantly fail and move on. Yeah, I really don't have much else that I can think of. So yeah, enjoy the next bit, I guess. I'll probably do a time lapse if I can figure that out in the video editing software. Anyway, see you. we are reaching the final stages. Couldn't finish that wave of solar panels apparently. Oh well, it's still getting done. And now, let's see. It's almost done. Wait, I could have combined this next blueprint. More work. No. There we go. So, now it's about to do its last command, which is to expand. All the criteria has been met. We're going to have to zoom out for this one. And there you have it. The factory is now expanded. It's trying to move up, it's trying to move that way, it's trying to move that way, and it's trying to move that way, while upgrading itself with batteries. And it's adding a copier to make more blueprints. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to visit my self-expanding factory. I'll have a link to download it and view it for yourself down below. Have a good day. One last thing, everyone. Before we head out, I did mention I was going to show you the flowchart for the factory. This flowchart is basically the whole script. So, let me just zoom in here for you guys. And I'll also post a link for you guys to view this as well. So let's start with the first. We start with building the cell. Then we build the minefield. You know how you saw at the beginning, all those electric mines. From here, we then have a if statement where we check if we have ores or if we don't, which then keep going down. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just kind of slowly glide through it, and you guys can download it from the link below if you really are interested. But overall, I did try making this as simple as possible. If you guys want to download it and try breaking it, be my guest. Granted, you might have a harder time getting it working or getting it on its own feet than actually breaking it. These things take a while to build up, but so does society. So, yeah. Well, that's all. Have a good day and have fun. Have fun with my factory.